Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The information in this deep dive is for informational purposes only and not professional advice. Do your own research, all that good stuff. Consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
Yeah.
All right. Our team's been looking into something pretty interesting. NVIDIA?
Yeah.
Their stock price has gone crazy. Almost 200% growth this year, all thanks to the AI boom.
It's been wild to watch.
But here's the thing. AI models, like ChatGPT, they use a ton of energy, like way more than a Google search.
Oh, yeah, way more. 10 times more, in fact, per query.
At times. Seriously. So where are we going to get all that energy? Makes you wonder.
That's the question, isn't it? It's what led us to this deep dive, actually. We started exploring the connection between AI's energy needs and, get this, a potential nuclear energy comeback.
A nuclear comeback. Wow. Okay, so for our listeners, can you paint a picture of the energy problem AI is facing? I mean, we all use Google. Imagine every search needing 10 times more power. That's ChatGPT, and then multiply that by millions of users. It's a lot.
It is, and it's happening right now. This huge jump in energy demand is happening at the same time as all these worries about climate change, right? We need clean energy, reliable energy. And that's where nuclear power is coming back into the picture.
Despite all the, issues it's had in the past.
Yeah, it's controversial, but it doesn't produce carbon, and it can provide a steady baseload of power. Unlike solar and wind, which are a bit, unreliable.
I see. Okay, let's talk about a specific company then. How about NuScale Power? They're all about those small modular reactors, the SMRs, and they got certified by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
That's right. Big deal. Their design is modular, scalable. Each module is tiny compared to a traditional reactor.
So they're like the first ones out there with this SMR technology.
Pretty much. First mover advantage. They even have agreements in place to have plants up and running by 2029, and their stock. Through the roof. 562% growth year to date.
Wow.
But there are some things to consider. A big project in Utah, it got canceled because of budget problems.
Oh, that's not good.
It raises questions. Can they actually deliver these projects on time and within budget? That's going to impact future contracts, future growth, and their financials aren't in the green yet. Debt's growing too.
Some analysts are predicting a downside of 36% for next year. That's a big difference from how they're doing now.
It is. It's definitely something to watch.
Okay, let's switch gears to something a little more out there. Nano Nuclear Energy, they're working on portable reactors, like on-demand reactors.
Sounds like science fiction, right? Zeus and Odin, that's what they're calling them.
Wow.
Still in the design phase, though, early stage, no financial data yet. So it's a risky investment, very speculative. But that hasn't stopped their stock. Up 300% this year.
All on hype and potential.
Pretty much.
Speaking of potential, before we move on, do us a favor and like this deep dive. Subscribe to the channel for more like it.
Now, we can't talk nuclear without uranium, right? Cameco, they're the big players there. They own huge, high-grade uranium reserves. Basically, they're fueling the reactors that power our world. You got it. Cameco, they're like the foundation of the industry. Like picks and shovels during a gold rush.
Perfect analogy.
They've had fantastic long-term growth, up 27% this year and over the past 5 years. Hold on to your hats, 500%. Profit margins are getting bigger, too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So are there any downsides?
Well, their valuation is high right now, and there have been some dips in their recent performance. So some people are wondering if their current price is, realistic.
Analysts are predicting a 7% upside for next year. Solid, but not as wild as some of these other companies. Okay, next up, Constellation Energy. They're betting big on nuclear for data centers. They've got the $16 billion project with Microsoft, restarting the 3 Mile Island reactor.
Yeah, turning a disaster into an opportunity. It really shows how tech and energy are coming together.
Constellation wants to be a big player in the SMR and microreactor game. They've got the funding and the experience. Look at their 3-year growth, over 500%.
Impressive, but they've also got a lot of debt, and their cash flow is going down, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Another one with pros and cons, then.
All right, we've got 4 more companies to dig into, each with their own take on this whole nuclear energy thing. Let's start with Centrus Energy. They're all about HAU.
HAU, what's that?
High-assay, low-enriched uranium. It's like specialized fuel for the next generation of reactors. The SMRs we were just talking about, they use it.
Ah, so they're like the fuel specialists for this new wave of nuclear tech.
Exactly. And they're doing well. Their 5-year growth is insane, 1,800%. Plus, they have a decent price-to-earnings ratio. Doesn't seem like they're overvalued.
1,800%. That sounds almost too good to be true. What's the catch?
Well, some analysts are saying there could be a downside, maybe around 34% over the next year.
Yeah.
And their cash flow has been up and down a bit. So there's definitely some risk there.
Okay, so maybe not a sure thing. Got it. Okay, this next one is different. Oklo Inc. They're building a small reactor in Idaho. Get this. They say it can run for 10 years without refueling.
It's groundbreaking technology, but let's be real, it's still early days. No earnings yet, they're burning through cash, and their valuation is based on what they might achieve. High risk, high reward.
For those who like to live on the edge.
Exactly.
What about this next one? BWX Technologies. What's their story?
They're interesting because they do a lot of different things. They're involved in nuclear fuel production, yeah, but they also have government contracts, even do work for NASA.
Wow, NASA.
Yeah, and they do remediation services too, cleaning up nuclear waste.
So they're like the all-in-one nuclear company.
Yeah.
Fuel, clean up, the whole 9 yards. Smart.
It is. And it seems to be working for them. Stock is up 64% this year, cash flow is growing strong, and they keep beating those earnings estimates.
So they're a pretty safe bet then.
Well, their price-to-earnings ratio is on the high side, so that could mean they're overvalued. Plus, their trading volume is low. Might be some liquidity concerns there.
Okay. So, high growth, but with some risks, like we've seen with all these nuclear companies. All right, last company on our list, GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy. Now, those are some big names.
Yeah, they're a joint venture, GE and Hitachi, and they're focused on developing this one specific type of SMR, the BWRX 300. They've got a project lined up in Ontario, Canada, supposed to be online by 2028.
So they're going after the Canadian market.
Canada loves nuclear energy. They've been using it for a long time, and they're really supportive of these SMRs. But figuring out their financials is tricky.
How so?
Well, because it's a joint venture, their numbers are all mixed up with GE and Hitachi's stuff.
Oh, makes sense. Hard to get a clear picture of just their nuclear business.
Exactly. But they've got a long history in nuclear, solid technology, and some promising projects in the works. So there's that.
Okay, so 8 companies. That's a lot to process. What about our listeners who maybe want a simpler way to invest in all this? Are there other options in the nuclear sector?
You bet. ETFs, exchange-traded funds. Think of it like a pre-made portfolio just for nuclear energy.
So like a basket of nuclear companies all in one.
Exactly. You buy shares of the ETF and you're instantly invested in all those companies. Diversification, less risk than picking just one company.
That sounds pretty good. Any ETFs you'd recommend?
There's the Global X Uranium ETF and the Range Nuclear Renaissance Index ETF, both good options. They cover uranium mining, reactor technology, all the important stuff.
That's super helpful. All right, before we keep going, reminder to like this episode and subscribe to the channel. Now, what surprised you the most while we were researching all this?
I think it's how different all these approaches are. We saw everything from the old school uranium miners like Cameco to these crazy portable reactor ideas from Nano Nuclear, and then Oklo trying to build a reactor that runs for 10 years straight. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really shows you how much is happening in this industry.
Yeah.
Everyone trying to solve this energy problem in their own way. What did you think about all this? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this.
Keep learning, keep exploring. See you next time.